webinar. Okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Understanding the 21st Century Skills and Social Emotional Competencies. We're going to have a really nice hour going through these competencies, and we hope you can learn a lot through it. So let's just dive in, and let's start. Awesome. So before we go into details, I just want to give you all an overview of what the webinar is going to look like today and what we're going to be covering with you as well. So first, we're going to do the participant survey just to learn a little bit about you and where you're coming from. Then we're going to touch base on the youth outcomes, and we will explain the 21st century skills and the social emotional learning and competencies. Then we're going to dive into the Ashoka Empathy Toolkit, and then to finalize, we're going to review with you upcoming events and opportunities. So let's just start by doing the participant survey. On the chat box, please, if you can answer the following questions. Where are you from, city and state, and how has generationOn been a resource for you?
Yeah, so we have lots of resources that we share with all of our facilitators, different handbooks, project guides, campaigns, grants, just what has been useful and how has it helped you in your service.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Sean.
So we see.
Does everyone see their chat box? Okay. Great, Sean. So Sean from Omaha says that generationOn helps track his students' growth.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume you mean from all of the service learning experiences that you give your kids, you can see how they progress throughout their year with you. Great. Awesome. Do we have any other responses? If not, no worries.
Great. Thank you all for sharing. Thank you, Sean, for sharing. So now what we're going to do, we want to do a pop quiz with you. So before we dive into the issues that we're going to talk about today, we want to ask you, how much have empathy rates among teens decreased in the last 30 years? And you can guess the percentage. How do you think empathy has decreased among kids for the last 30 years? So you can give us the answer through the chat box as well. And the pop quiz. See? Any answers? Okay. Hold on.
Where did it go? $25 to 60%.
Okay, that's one. Anyone else? Okay, so the answer actually, empathy has decreased for 40% among youth for the past 30 years. So Sean, you were kind of like close and then off, but almost there. And the second question is, what percentage of youth think that their parents, teachers are more invested in their achievement or happiness, and then how they treat others? So basically, imagine that you are a student and we are asking you, what do you think your parents or teacher care more about, either your school achievements or your how you treat others? So share with us on the chat box, what are your thoughts about this question?
And what percentage you think?
Mm-hmm.
Any guesses? Sean, we know you're out there. Or maybe 60% he meant for the second question.
Oh, I see.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, So actually, it's 80%. So 80% of youth think that their parents and teachers care more about their achievement and happiness than how they treat others.
All right. Thank you, Zairana. So based on the pop quiz, we have seen that obviously there's a big decrease in empathy and the value of caring for other people. So why is this an issue? So there's a famous quote from Aristotle. He says, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So that being said, it means like, what good is math? What good is English literature? What good are understanding grammar rules if you don't know how to treat other people? So this is definitely an issue that we see today. And the second issue is if we're focusing on achieving, which is great, but a lot of young people, especially those with lower levels of education, are entering the workforce with deficiencies in critical thinking, teamwork, collaboration, and communication. So these are all issues that Generation On tries to help improve, and we'll tell you how.
Hi everyone, this is Sarah. So where are we going with this? Why are we talking about social emotional competencies and 21st century skills? Raola just alluded to it, but I want to tell you a little bit about why we're starting to focus on this a little bit more at Generation On. And so as everyone knows, we have been always focused on service as an amazing opportunity to help young people grow and develop. But we now know that service is not just a great opportunity for young people to get out and know their community. It's also a really important strategy to equip young people with the skills they need to be successful at school, at home, and in their communities, and also as they go into the workforce. There's been some really interesting research recently around the skills that young people are lacking as they enter the workforce, and 21st century skills and social emotional competencies are rising to the top here. And so employers are saying these are the things that young people are lacking when they come to work. So we know that there's a need is the important part here. And so what we are doing this year is really focusing on a kind of a quality improvement practice that we are engaging with folks at the Weichert Center for Youth Program Quality on. They are based out of Eastern Michigan University and are kind of experts in the youth program space as well as the social emotional learning space. So we're going to be working with them to train this team sitting at this table here at Generation On becoming quality assessors for youth program work, and then are going to be collaborating with them on the development of tools and resources and a more stepwise curriculum that can help facilitators across the country really put into place the programs that's needed to help young people develop those 21st century skills and social emotional competencies. And this year we're dipping our toe in, being more precise with you all about what we are trying to achieve and what we hope to measure, and then are going to be rolling out some more tools and resources, including surveys as the year goes on.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, so again, Generation On is all about creating caring, compassionate, and capable change makers. And how do we get to this is through those 21st century skills and social emotional competencies. So let's first start off with our 21st century skills. What are they? So 21st century skills are skills and knowledge needed to be successful in work, life, and in citizenship. So the 21st century has been a period filled with lots of social, economic, and political changes. And as you may know, we're now in the knowledge age where people see and use knowledge differently. So knowledge and ideas are the main source of economic growth now, as opposed to the industrial age where it was all about like factory work and cranking out products and things like that. So in the 21st century skills has three different buckets. The first bucket is life and career skills. So this includes being flexible, being adaptable, taking initiative, having self-direction, having leadership skills, and being a responsible person. The second bucket is information, media, and technology skills. So those are all the skills you need to be successful in today's technology age. And then the last bucket is the learning and innovation skill set. So Generation On focuses on these four, the learning and innovation skills being creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. So obviously, creativity is coming up with new and innovative and worthwhile ideas. Critical thinking, being able to evaluate, analyze, and critique different situations. Collaboration is working effectively and respectfully with different people and teams. And communication helps us to organize our thoughts, our ideas, and opinions orally and in writing. So we want to share a couple of examples of what this looks like in our club's network, but before we do, we wanted to ask if you could share an experience or an activity that you really witnessed a growth in these 4 skills. You can pick just one to highlight, or you can share an example where you've seen growth in multiple skills. So in your chat box, if you can please share, we'd greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, we can dive right into the examples we have in front of you. Is the chat box the same as? Yes. Yes, Anne. Sorry about that. So again, if you could share with us an example of an activity or experience where you've seen growth in these 4 skills in your service project, we'd greatly appreciate it.
It can be either critical thinking, communication, collaboration, how you see those competencies being played out during your service projects or when you meet with your club members. So we have Sean, who's sharing that one of my students was an introvert before this project. By the end of the week, several students plus gave tours to other adults about his work. So Sean is saying that before one of his members being part of the club, he was an introvert. And the club helped him to be more out there, be outgoing, and also participate more within the community. And that helps a lot with their work. Thank you, Sean, for sharing. Do we have anyone else who wants to share?
Thank you, Sean. All right, we can go ahead and we'll share some of the examples we have that really highlight the growth in these 4 skills. All right, so we have the Forest Park Kids Care Club, and they worked really well together. They wanted to fundraise money for some sort of organization or charity, but they didn't know who they wanted to support. So what they ended up doing was the club facilitator tasked them to go home and research an organization or charity that they were really excited and interested about. So during the next club meeting, each of the club members had to pitch an idea or pitch the organization that they wanted their entire club to financially support. So they each went up there, did their little spiel about who they were really excited about, and at the end of the club meeting, they democratically voted on which organization to support. They ended up choosing the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, and this is just a really great example of how through service, the youth are working on their communication skills with their peers, as well as working together to come to one decision. So this is just one example of how a club, a kids care club, children between the ages of 5 and 10 have really developed their 21st century skills in communication and collaboration through service.
So for the critical thinking, we have the IHDF East Harlem Kids Care Club. And this club, they wanted to focus on the issue of homelessness and poverty in their community. So one thing that the club did first was to investigate and critically think about the issue on how people become homeless. And through research and documentaries, they started to understand and see this issue. Club members reflected on the question like what it is to be homeless and how would it feel to live on the streets in the colder months. So this exercise not only helped them to understand the issue, but also to empathize with other people that might go through the same situation. So after they learned more about their homelessness, club members collaborated and collected winter coats and hygiene products to donate to the people in need. The facilitator had a really good a good outcome out of it, because she was able to share that the club members enjoyed brainstorming ways to inform their community, and through the collection drive, they were able to make flyers, they informed local organizations, and they engaged with parents to foster community support. So when the kids were out there, they were more informed, they were more eloquent, and they knew what they were talking about through the research that they did before doing the project. This club in particular was very successful. They collected 75 coats as well as additional pieces of clothing, and they helped over 100 people in their community. Club members also created a handwritten poem and letters to share with the people that they were donated the coats to. So this is a great example of how you can take the process of critical thinking even further during your service and learn about the issue that you're taking on, and also educate your participants through the process.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, we just have one more example for the 21st century skills for our communication. We have a club called AMAC, Kids Care Club. They are made up of students who are all on the autism spectrum, and they wanted to address the issue of hunger in their community. And they decided that they wanted to make sandwiches for a local food pantry. So what they ended up doing was they all went to the grocery store and were practicing their communication skills by not only purchasing all of the materials they needed to buy, but also for asking in-kind donations. And for students on the autism spectrum, this is definitely not only a way to practice their oral communication skills, but also just to practice their practical life skills. So this was a wonderful way, just even though it's very, very simple, it's just a wonderful way for people of all different abilities to engage in service, but also fine-tune skills that are very much needed.
Thank you, Varela, for go over the 21st century skills. And again, those are communication, critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity. And again, these are just examples of what we are seeing, but of course, you guys are the experts since you guys are in the field with your youth and your kids. So now we're going to segue to what is the social-emotional learning and what are the social-emotional competencies. But first, let's see what is social-emotional learning. Social-emotional learning helps youth to develop life skills that help youth to relate to others. And this includes social awareness, self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills, responsible decision-making. So this is a set of skills that the youth and kids they can learn through social-emotional learning. According to research, service is a great strategy to strengthen social-emotional competencies. How? Through service, youth learn what they're interested in doing, why they are passionate and care a lot, and also what they value. Through this process, youth are developing their identity and are becoming more self-aware. Also, service supports the development of self-management. Youth trying things that are new to them, work with new people, and learn what skills they have. They build their self-esteem and put themselves in control of their actions. Then you have also the service help foster those relationship building skills, as youth are building new relationships with their peers, classmates, caring adults, and community partners through the process of planning and implementing their services. They becoming more confident with talking to people like themselves, and also they are learning how to build rapport and establish trust with other people. Also, service also is a good opportunity to learn about social issues and about different communities and organizations and what kind of work they're doing already to improve the social issue that they care about. They become more socially aware, and also they are learning to increase their compassion and empathy. Lastly, service is a great opportunity to teach youth how to make responsible decisions through reflecting on their service experience. Also, youth recognize that their actions lead to community impact. So this is what basically set the ground for the social-emotional competencies. So as a result, kids will gain the social-emotional competencies, which are compassion, caring, empathy, and gratitude. So as you can see, we have really defined them. And as for the definition of compassion, we have is empathy in action, Through service, compassion is demonstrating care and concern for others through inspiring notes, kind thoughts, and helpful actions. For caring, we have is being kind and showing concern for the well-being of other people. When youth learn to be more caring individuals by learning about important issues that affect themselves and their community. For empathy is the ability to understand and relate to the feelings of another person or community. And for gratitude is showing appreciation and being thankful. Youth that serve people who are in different living and health situations from themselves, they learn about their own position in the world and they become more grateful of their own position. So now I want to ask you, the facilitator, the expert, I will say, how you see these skills being translated during your service project, during your service, when you're working with your group of people. Awesome. And Taylor. Taylor, sorry. Okay, she's sharing, I love watching children work collaboratively to think creatively about solutions to community problems and watching them find ways to have fun and build relationships as they serve. That is fantastic, Anne, and that's exactly what we want to share with you today, and that's the whole purpose of service. Anybody else would like to share how they see the social emotional competencies being rolled out during the work that you do with your youth and your kids?
If not, we've got a couple of really great examples. Okay.
So we're going to share our examples now. So the first example that we have is for gratitude and empathy, and we're going to use the Benevolent Blue Jay generationOn Service Club. And basically, this club in particular, they wanted to give back to those less fortunate, and they decided to join the United States Postal Service under Operation Santa, and they became Santa. So they read and responded and fulfilled the request of written to Santa. So the club members were excited as they took on the role of Santa helpers. So the club facilitators recall a moment that exemplified the club member compassion and gratitude. She said that while the club members were reading the Operation Santa letters, the students were in tears when they thought that a simple and selfless request that some of the children were making were very simple. They were not asking for a lot. And this was a really, really big realization for this group, because sometimes during the holidays we are asking for the biggest gift. What am I going to get? And then you read these letters and are very, very simple gifts that the kids are asking for. And in this case, this club was able to fulfill those dreams, which it was even a better gift to them than a real gift that they will get from someone else. Also, additionally, club members wanted to serve the homeless children after discovering that they could only bring one bag of belongings with them as they moved from shelter to shelter. So what they decided to do was finger puppets. And basically they really took upon this project because they, in their schools, at home, beyond the club meetings, they were meeting and they were making the finger puppets, which is something that the kids were able to carry from their different places that they have to go. So this club is a really good example of how, through service, kids and youth are learning gratitude and empathy, because they come across different experiences and they learn from it and they become more grateful and they become more empathetic. Like in the case, I think it was beautiful how these kids were able to put themselves on the shoes of the homeless children by making finger puppets, because they knew that they couldn't take anything else. So that's a great example for empathy.
Thank you. And we have one last example from the Webb Du Bois High School Service Club. So they set out to address the issue of education and literacy by organizing a Dr. Seuss themed service project. So they bought the red and white striped hats. They made coloring books with Dr. Seuss themed photos. And they also led reading circles and read all sorts of Dr. Seuss's books. And that in itself is a wonderful project. It was really creative, really age appropriate, because they were partnering with a local elementary school. But this is a wonderful example of caring and compassion because the club had noticed that there was one student in particular who was sitting on the sidelines of the activity and didn't really want to engage or participate. And the club members inquired about the student and asked the teacher, why is the student, isolating themselves? Is there a reason why they're shying away from the group? And the teacher explained that the student was new and only spoke Arabic. But thankfully, one of the club members also spoke Arabic and took it upon themselves to really make the student feel welcomed, communicated what they were doing, wanted to make sure that they felt included. So this is just another example of how through service, these competencies about caring and compassion can be developed through their service experience. And so Generation On really wants to help foster these 21st century skills and social emotional competencies. We've made special resources, and most recently we have the Ashoka Empathy Toolkit, and that is available on our Rules of Kindness microsite. So the toolkit is really wonderful. It has lots of activities that help identify feelings, help you become more self-aware, give you strategies to help you self-regulate your behavior, as well as help you understand and appreciate diversity. So we wanted to go over one of the activities that are available in this toolkit with you. The activity is called Diversity Buttons. So Diversity Buttons is an activity that helps recognize and appreciate differences. So in this activity, youth, but us today, will explore the importance of diversity and its significance within their community. So we're going to sort and categorize different buttons. You can also use other objects around your home or in your school or in your nonprofit organization. And then we're going to discuss how these different characteristics that we divide the buttons in can be used to describe people. So we're going to do this activity together. So we're going to practice. So if you're doing this activity and I were to ask you, how could you sort these buttons into smaller subcategories? How could you do that? Daironis, do you have a suggestion?
I would sort them by color.
By color. All right, so I see that there are reds, so maybe you would sort all the reds, and then maybe the blues in another one. We can sort them by light and dark. So those are two different ways we can divide them up by color. Does anyone else have a suggestion? You can put it in the question box on how we can divide up the buttons. Sarah, do you have a suggestion on how we can divide up the buttons?
Yeah, I think shape would be an interesting one to think about.
Great. So shape, so we have some that are complete circles, others are squares, some are oval, so we can definitely divide them up by shape. Sean and Anne, we can do it by convex and concave, that's true. Size, large and small. Carlene, thank you for suggesting number of holes. So we have 4 holes and 2 holes, we can divide those up. Great.
And Emily, who is our Go Lead facilitator, will always say if you're working with middle school youth, be careful of the number of holes one. You're always going to get a bunch of laughs.
Yeah. Yes. We can also do it, maybe we can divide them up by pattern. So if it's a pattern versus a solid color. Great. Any other Daironis? Can you think of anything else? No?
No.
Okay, great. So how does this help us understand diversity? So the next question, after we have finished categorizing and picking up all the different categories we can use to separate the buttons, is we ask, how can the different categories and characteristics be applied? Oh, Anne did this activity with Go Lead. Great. So we asked, how can the different categories and characteristics be applied to people? So the first category we talked about was color. So obviously, we can say color has to do with either people's skin tone or where people come from. It could even be used to categorize people in the clothing that they put on themselves. We also talked about size, and that can be, we're categorizing people by their height, short and tall, or we can be categorizing people by their body shape, if you're more slender versus pear-shaped. We also saw, just going up, we saw concave versus convex. So that can mean maybe open and accepting of new ideas versus guarded and holding people at arm's length. We also saw the number of holes in each button, and this might be a stretch, but we can think of that as maybe categorizing people versus on what they have and what they don't have. Do we see anything else? Age. Yep, the age of a button. We can definitely categorize people by their age, being older or younger.
Wisdom and experience.
Being wise and experienced versus being very green and new.
Great.
So these are all very, very wonderful. So how do you think, Daironis, does this activity help you understand diversity?
So one thing that I learned about, and I just did this with Go Lead, and it was really nice to come to that realization, is that if you think about a button, the purpose of it is to keep things together. And although they are different in color and size, they all have the same purpose of keeping a piece of clothing together. And that's the same thing with diversity. We all have something different to offer. We all have different skills. We all come from different backgrounds, but we all working towards the same purpose, or we all have something that we want to achieve. So that's how I see this activity translate to diversity.
Oh, how that was so beautifully explained. So beautifully explained. Again, the buttons all have the same function, but they're all made of different things. They all look different. They have different shapes and sizes and colors, but they all have one purpose. So that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing and explaining that. I love it.
Thank you, Raella, for facilitating.
No problem. All right. So how does this activity tie back into what we were talking about? So this activity helps you become more self-aware of what your assumptions are. It helps you become more socially aware. So again, this brings you to the foundations of what you need to understand and learn to get to those social emotional competencies of compassion, of caring, of gratitude. So we just wanted to tie all of that in together. So that is going to close out our explanation of the 21st century skills and social emotional competencies. Do you have any questions before we jump into what's coming up with generationOn? Any questions? Any questions? We love questions. If not, if you think of questions later on, of course you can always email us. We're always more than happy to jump on the phone, shoot you an email.
Shout out to Sean. He gives me calls, and we always talk about how the club is doing, so I really appreciate the calls.
Yeah, we love hearing about what's going on. All right, so here's what's coming up.
So coming up, we want to keep supporting you all with the upcoming campaigns, and we have a very exciting one, and that is the Rules of Kindness campaign. And what we want to accomplish with this campaign is to challenge kids, teens, and teens to build empathy, be kind, and show that they care. It is a great way to build a culture of caring and at your school, in your organization, at home. The fantastic thing about it is participating is free and easy. The first thing you just have to do is go to generationOn website and visit the microsite for the Rules of Kindness. Then we want you to use our resources like the Ashoka Toolkit that we just shared with you today to come up with Rules of Kindness with your group. Then we want you to put together a plan of action so you can use those Rules of Kindness through service. So, for example, if you're currently working already on an environmental project, You can make rules of kindness about the environment, why it's important to take care of the environment, not to throw trash on the floor, things of that sort, that you can have a conversation with your group and come up with rules of kindness and implement them through your service projects. Then you can share it with us through the story wall in the microsite, and you can get the chance to win a grant. So it's very low lift. It's a very way of engaging youth and build a culture of empathy now that they are back to school. So I want to share like a little example of rules of kindness, the ones that we currently have in generationOn, because we also participate. So in our office, we like to listen to everyone's ideas with an open mind. Then also we like to show that we care and appreciate our colleagues with mini events. For example, on Thursday, we have Treat Thursday. So every Thursday, we like one of the colleagues, they bring like a treat, and we sit and we either write letters to send out. For example, we just did that last week to the floods in Louisiana, and that was really nice because we were able to also share our school stories and like when we were in school, how that looked like. Also, another rule that we have is to respect the unique talents that each member brings to the team. We like to approach our work in a spirit of learning because we do not know it all, and then make sure that to walk around with a smile in our faces. So that's Generation On, New York Rule of Kindness. I hope that you like it and you can take some ideas for your own club.
Yeah, so again, we just want to reiterate that it's really easy to make rules, and then how we made this into a service project is every Thursday when we have our treat days, we take that time to write letters to either, most recently, to the people affected by the Louisiana floods, and then maybe in the upcoming weeks we'll either write letters to folks in nursing homes, people in hospitals, maybe veterans. So every time we come together, we're going to create that space of service while we're all treating ourselves as well.
Yay! The other two great opportunities that we have, the first one is the Family Volunteer Day, and it is a really good day for families to come together and celebrate the power of family who work together to support their communities and neighborhoods. Through the service is actually the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and for example, parents, they can volunteer with their children together at a soup kitchen, at a senior center, at a library. There are different ways a family can come together and, support other families during the holidays as well. And that got me to Joy Maker. It made me to go further. So we have the Joy Maker Challenge, and it is a fantastic day of service for kids to spread peace and joy during the holidays. Our volunteers are encouraged to organize like a code drive, toy drive, or write letters to children at a hospital. And again, you all are the expert on how to do service projects, so whichever way you think you can do service through Family Volunteer Day or Joy Maker Challenge, you should do it. Definitely you should do it.
But if you need help, we are more than happy to brainstorm ideas.
For sure. So we want to keep giving you all support, and we want to share with you the next webinar, and it's going to be about engaging and working with a diverse group of youth and volunteers. It's going to be October 25th between 2 to 3, and you can register in the link that we're sharing in the presentation. And also you will have full access to all the webinar series through the generationOn website and also in our Facebook group.
Right. Great. So if you have any questions, again, feel free to write them down.
If there's anything that you would like more clarification, and particularly with the 21st century skills and the social emotional competencies, we are more than happy to help you with it.
All right, and we're going to get the link for the Love Letters campaign. That'll be great. So our office can continue to write love letters. I'm going to make a note of that now. Any other questions? If not, we really thank you for the time that you spent with us this afternoon. And again, we'll be sending out a link to get some feedback, and if you have any thoughts or ideas on other webinars that you'd appreciate to have, we are more than happy to put something together for you, and would love to do that for you. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Also, before we forget, we're going to send you a survey, a feedback survey, and we really appreciate it. You can give us back like comments or how we can improve for next time when we are providing a webinar for all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a good evening.